I'm imagining, Jay, that you don't have to text Quinn Snyder about what he thinks about Grayson Allen. And I'm wondering what that pre-draft conversation between Snyder and Coach K, if there even was one, or if it was even necessary. When you think about it.
Yeah, I don't think it was all that necessary. Grayson Allen has put together a body of work, and he's a really good player. And nobody sits on the fence with regard to him. They either like him or they don't. And it has nothing to do with how he plays. It has to do with whether they like him or not. So there's a lot of baggage that gets carried into this by fans. But what is undeniable is that kid can really shoot it. He came out of an NBA workout recently for a bunch of different NBA teams, and that was all NBA personnel were talking about. They said it's one of the best shooting workouts they've seen. And so he's a good athlete. He tested really well at the combine. He's mature. He's been knocked around a little bit, so he's not. It's not like it's going to be horrible adversity for him to go in the NBA. He's going in as a grown man, kind of old school in that way. Like when everybody used to go in when they were 22 and nobody said they'd hit their ceiling yet.
Right.
But he'll do fine there. That's a good fit for him, and he can space the floor for them and make shots, and he doesn't have to carry a big load. He can just blend in. Well,
speaking of grown men or guys who had grown men performances at the collegiate level in the last year or two, the big ragu Dante DiVincenzo going to the Bucks. How do you like that fit, Jay Bilas?
I think Dante's going to do well. He's 21 years old. He was a redshirt because he was injured his freshman year after he came out of Delaware, and he's exceeded my expectations of him as a player, and I think he's going to continue to get better. Do I think he's better than some of these other guys in the draft? Some of the other guards. I don't. I think he was drafted about where he should have been. But 2-3 months ago, I wouldn't have said he was a first-round draft pick. I didn't see him that way. But the way he ended the season, it's very rare you see a rise like that just off of not only a championship, but a guy who performs really well in the NCAA tournament. And look, he's legit. He played really well at the combine and showed what he's capable of. But I don't think he was a first-round pick before that combine. And when he got out of there, he was. And I think he'll do well, but I do think it's going to take him a little bit of time to figure it out.
Jay Bilas here on the Rich Eisen Show. Ask him the poll question, Chris. Best we can.
Yeah, Jay, looking at the top five, which of these rookies makes an all-star game first? DeAndre Ayton, Marvin Bagley, Luka, Jaren Jackson, or Trae Young?
I think it's going to be Luka Doncic because he's played more high-level basketball than anybody else in this draft. And played in the second-best league in the world, really, in the ACB league. And I think he's legit, and I think he's going to do really well. It's just a question of how well. Well is a given. Like, he's not going to be one of these. Like, I think a lot of people, and then myself included, the first thing you think of when you think of a European player is, well, look what happened with Darko, and remember Nicholas Skidishvili. Well, there was no data on these guys. You just saw them in workouts, maybe a little bit of 5-on-5. You got years of tape on Luka Doncic and seeing him in person. They've scouted him more than any college player in this draft. And the only thing he doesn't have is like crazy world-class athleticism. He's a really good athlete, but he's not a world-class athlete like some of these other guys in the draft. And but he knows how to play, man. That dude can pass it. He can make shots. He's unafraid, and like I always write down in scouting reports. It makes it really easy for me when I see a guy that just, man, that guy knows how to play. He's got a feel. He's instinctive. All this stuff. I just write down 4 letters, KHTP. And that's what I wrote down when I was watching tape of this guy. He just knows how to play, and he's going to be fine. And playing in Dallas will really help because it's a little more high profile. If he was in Sacramento or something like that, I might not have answered that he'd be the first to play in the All-Star game.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.